Hello aspirants, welcome to GDC English classes YouTube channel. So in this session, we will discuss about the classification of anti-diabetic drugs including type 1 as well as type 2 anti-diabetic drugs. Okay, so do you know already diabetes mellitus is an metabolic disorder characterized by abnormality between glucose and insulin in the body. So here insulin preparations mainly intended for type 1 diabetes treatment and remaining other drugs like sulfonylureas, non-sulfonylureas, all other drugs are oral hypoglycemics helps in the treatment of type 2 diabetes mellitus. So here I will give a trick to you, that is ban GST for diabetic products. Ban GST for diabetic products. So here B means biguanides. B means biguanides, metformin. What biguanides are? Metformin, fenformin. So what biguanides will do? Inhibit hepatic glucose production. They decrease production of glucose from the liver. Next A. What is the meaning of A? A means inhibit glucose absorption. That is glucose. A means absorption of glucose inhibitor, that is alpha glucosidase inhibitor. So these drugs like acarbose are the drugs. They inhibit alpha glucosidase enzyme and inhibit the glucose absorption in the intestine. Next N. N means non-sulfonyl ureas, natty glinide, repaglinide. So these are non-sulfonylureas. Both sulfonyl ureas, non-sulfonyl ureas having same mechanism of action, but they differing in their chemical structure. Next G. Next G means GLP-1 receptor agonist, exenatide liraglutide. These two drugs agonize the glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor, and increase the incretins release. Incretins are the substance increase the insulin function, decrease the glucagon function. Next S. S for sulfonylureas. So sulfonylureas are the major drugs in the treatment of type 2 diabetes. Apart from the insulin preparation, all other are oral hypoglycemics. All oral hypoglycemics for type 2 diabetes treatment. So next S is sulfonylureas. Example glimepiride. So here in the sulfonylureas there are different generations. First generation all are amide like tolbutamide, chlorpropamide, acetohexamide, tolazolamide. And next second generation are GLI like glipizide, glimepiride, glibenclamide, also known as glyburide, and gliclazide. These are the two generations of sulfonylureas specific for treatment of type 2 diabetes. Next letter is the T. In ban GST for diabetic products, next letter is the T. So regarding T, T means thiazolidinediones like pioglitazone, rosiglitazone, troglitazone, sioglitazone. All these are PPAR gamma receptor agonist and helps in treatment of type 2 diabetes. And next is the D. D means DPP4 inhibitor. DPP means dipeptidyl peptidase 4 enzyme, which involves in inactivation of incretins. Inactivation of incretins decrease insulin function, increase glucagon function. Increase glucagon again produce diabetes. That's why inhibition of dipeptidyl peptidase 4 enzyme by sitagliptin, vildagliptin. These gliptins inhibit this DPP4 enzyme and decrease the inactivation of incretins and increase insulin function. Next is the P. Okay, wait a minute. And finally, letter P nothing but pramlinitide. Nothing but PRAMLINITIDE. Pramlinitide. So you can search by the spelling in Google bar or wherever it may be. So pramlintide is a drug, amylin analog. Especially it causes feeling of satiety. Feeling of satiety means no hungry. Feeling of satiety means no hungry. And here finally there is a insulin analogs, that is insulin lispro, aspart, glargine. All these are for type 1 diabetes treatment, and insulin preparations are taken by the parental route, mostly by subcutaneous route, and apart from insulin preparations are parental preparation. They are mainly for type 1 diabetes, and remaining all preparations are oral hypoglycemics for type 2 diabetes treatment. Okay, and here these drugs are majorly comes under the three categories. So let's see what are the three categories here. Right, a moment. So regarding three categories, inhibit the blood glucose level. Especially they decrease excess glucose levels in blood, like alpha glucosidase inhibitor, like acarbose or glucose, inhibit absorption of glucose. And next, inhibit hepatic glucose production, chemically biguanide, metformin, fenformin. Fenformin withdrawn from market because of lactic acidosis. Excess production of lactic acid make the body fluid pH towards acidic range that damage the tissues as well as organs. And inhibit glucose reabsorption from kidney, SGLT2 inhibitor, sodium glucose transporter 2. So sodium glucose transporter 2 present in the kidney, responsible for reabsorption of glucose from the kidney into the blood. But in case of diabetes, inhibition of this transport increase the elimination of glucose through the urine, like empagliflozin, canagliflozin inhibit the sodium glucose transporter 2 in the kidney and decreases reabsorption of glucose from kidney into the blood in diabetic patient. Next, drugs stimulate insulin release, sulfonylureas, non-sulfonylureas like meglitidenide, natiglinide, repaglinide, GLP-1 analog, exenatide, liraglutide, DPP-4 inhibitor, sitagliptin, vildagliptin, and other targets PPAR gamma receptor agonist like pioglitazone, proglitazone, rosiglitazone. They increase the genes which increase the insulin production. And insulin analogs nothing but they show action like endogenous insulin and specifically intended for the type 1 diabetes treatment. So this is simply about the classification of anti-diabetic drugs including type 1 as well as type 2. Type 1 anti-diabetics insulin preparations through parental route, subcutaneous, and type 2 anti-diabetics oral hypoglycemics by oral route. Okay, so this is simply about the classification of anti-diabetic drugs with the tricks and mnemonics. So like this interesting videos, subscribe to GDC English Classes YouTube channel. Okay, thank you.